Hey, welcome everybody. Let's talk real estate. Your weekly BS with Barry Saywitz about the current commercial real estate market here in Southern California. As we take a no BS look at both sides of the issues driving this market today to find the best solutions going forward. With our man right in the middle, it's Barry Saywitz. Hey, Barry.
Hey, good morning, Paul, and good morning to all of our viewers and our listeners out there. If it's Tuesday, we are talking real estate. I am Barry Saywitz, president of the Saywitz Company, managing partner of Saywitz Properties. It is Tuesday. We're going to talk a little bit of real estate, so welcome back, everyone. I'm excited about today's show. Before we get going, I do want to do a shout out and appreciate all the folks that helped everyone here in Southern California with the cleanup from the tropical storm from last week. We're beyond that, and now today is a cooker here in terms of the weather. And I know the folks in Florida, on the east coast of Florida, are bracing themselves for another storm, so good luck with that, and be careful. With all of that said, I'm pleased to welcome our guest for today's show, Steve Cederquist of Cederquist Designs, and author, TV personality, real estate guru. I appreciate you coming on the show, and glad to have you here.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
So I know you're a longtime resident of Orange County and longtime purveyor in the real estate genre, if you will. I guess let's rewind a little bit. I want to go back to the early days in terms of how you actually got into the real estate and construction business when you first got started.
I got started about, got divorced, came out here, moved back to Costa Mesa. I started about 2001. Actually, 94 is when I really started back in the day. We flipped a few houses back in 94 when, as you know, the prices were, when we were paying $100,000, we thought we were overpaying.
Right.
Now
that was when California was reasonable.
California at one time was reasonable. And then I dabbled in it from 2001 through 2006. 2006, I started my company, Cornerstone Property Services at the time, and we were doing a lot of property maintenance. We started out with 2 trucks, and then in 2008, when the recession hit, excuse me, we got bombarded. I mean, we were doing a lot of work for WAMU at the time, and then a couple of representatives from Fannie and Freddie got us signed up for doing a lot of their receivership work and a lot of their cleanup work.
So all the properties they were taking back from people who either defaulted or didn't pay the rent or whatever the case is, you had to go in and do the cleanup and try and get it ready to figure out what to do with it next.
Well, a lot of them we were just cleaning up, and as you well know, they didn't release them all. So like if we had you'd go in a neighborhood like in, let's say, Anaheim, we had 10 houses on that block, and we had to make 7 of them look like they were lived in. So we had to park cars in the driveway, leave lights on, set timers, paint the lawn. So, yeah, we did paint the lawns. That is a true story. Paint them green to make them look like they were alive. And we'd have to do that. And every year or 6 months, they would release another one. They didn't want to overflood the market where it would, obviously start affecting values. Sure. So we would do that a lot. We would go in and take care of them, clean them up. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I've got a little allergies this morning. Apologize. So yeah, we started doing that, and then I just started buying a few here and there, and next thing you know, I'm the guy that's buying them along with everybody else.
And so, I mean, that was obviously an opportune time coming out of the recession, buying at the bottom, if you will, and then fixing them up, and then being able to, reap the benefit of being able to sell it at a profit.
I wish I had my crystal ball.
Right, don't we all?
Right? I wish I would have saved them all, because I wouldn't. I wouldn't be living here. I'd be living somewhere else in Bali or something.
And that's really the trick with real estate speculation, or with the flipping aspect of real estate, which is, where am I buying in that sort of bell curve of the market? And did I buy right, and then I'm selling at a better place, or is there risk with where I bought in the cycle of the market?
Yeah, that's always a risk, especially lately, as you well know. I mean, we keep everybody, we all have different opinions, and every forecaster has a different opinion about what's happening with the market, what's going on. And I listened to 2 different people yesterday. One was like, buy now, don't worry about it, refinance in 2 years. And the other one was like, yeah, something's going to happen here pretty quick in September and October. So, where do you fall? I mean, I probably err a little size on the caution a little bit, but I'm still looking, I'm still making offers.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, it's a function of if, from an investor standpoint, if it makes sense and the dynamics make sense, then you buy. If you're buying based on something that hasn't occurred yet, you're really taking a lot more risk. If you're buying a house to live in it, I think you have a different motivation if you're not moving anytime soon.
Yeah, even flipping. I mean, but it's, if I say to flippers, people who are just getting in the market now or trying to get in the market, you're going to pay big money on your loan. I mean, I got quoted yesterday. I had one of my old money people call me and they said, yeah, we're at 12% and 2.5 points.
Wow.
And I'm like, there's no way you can make money at that.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you flip, what's a flip going to cost you? If you do it right with permits and plans, you're 3 months out before you can even touch the property.
Yeah.
So you're paying all that hard money, all that loan.
Well, and especially in today's market, I mean, if interest rates go up again, right, then you're just going to impact. I mean, at some point, I think the rates have to affect the value. I mean, we were chatting a little bit about it earlier, but the rates have gone up dramatically, more than double from where they were a year or 18 months ago. And on the residential side, then that's just right to your bottom line of what you can afford for a mortgage or what you're paying every month. On an investor side, I mean, it just basically whacks the cash flow. If you're renting it out, it just costs you that much more. And so to pay a very low cap rate or pay a very high purchase price, then pay a high interest, and then run the risk that the value of the property is not necessarily going to jump dramatically. I think it's a lot of risk. I mean, it's a lot more than it was before, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why anything we're doing now, we're making cash offers. We're not getting hard money. It's just the numbers are so tight. They were from even a year ago. The numbers are super tight. So we're just we're trying to we're out, like I said, we're bidding every day. We're not getting a lot, but we're getting outbid all the time. And I don't know. I look at when people outbid me and I'm thinking, what is their formula that they're looking at? Right. That I'm looking at.
Right, because I can't make it work, and so I'm wondering what the heck they're doing, right? And I do the same thing, and then you've got to wonder other people's motivations. I think some people, there's still some 1031 money out there where people have to buy stuff. They just don't want to pay the taxes. They don't really care. You've got other people, I think, that are just unsophisticated that just said, hey, I think everything's going to go up eventually, and I like the property. You've got some foreign money that they're just trying to place it, and it's a combination of things. But when you sit down and pencil it out on a piece of paper and go, I don't know how this works for anyone. Why would anyone pay this? And then somebody does. It's a dilemma.
Yeah. After here, I'm leaving here today. I'm going to. I made an offer on a place around the corner, and they didn't counter me. They just flat out refused me. But they said, well, we want to put it on the market first and for a week and see how it goes. And I'm like, oh God. Here it goes.
Right. So then you stand in the street and then shoo people away and go, no, it's already sold.
Yeah, pretty much. Put a sold sign out front.
Or you dance in your underwear on the front lawn and then people will be like, forget it, I'm not going to buy here.
Exactly.
But so let's go back a little bit. So you get into the construction business, come out of the recession, obviously an opportune time to buy properties then. Good market as it's continuing to, at that time, slowly rise, but rise and come back. I mean, it had no place to go but up between, I'm going to call it 2011, 2012, and 2017 or even recently. And then all of a sudden COVID hits. And so what happened to your business during COVID? Good, bad, on hold?
No. During COVID, I was... I had a couple buy and holds at the time that I was just working on. I couldn't get anything through the city. I had a condo in Costa Mesa that I bought that I was just going to flip, and I picked it up relatively cheap. And I just thought, I'm just going to sit on it. I'm just going to sit on this one. And I had another one I had out of state. I just sat on them and did just kind of went between the two properties and did most of the work myself. And then I did work for other people. I did a big commercial project out in Montebello, a big trucking company, Honolulu Freight Lines. They wanted to do their whole theme. So that took me a good 6 months to do that. So I don't know, I just kind of...
But the flip market during COVID, tough. I mean, right? I mean, first of all, people can't even come and see the property. Second of all, tough to get people to work in a group setting.
Couldn't even get in Home Depot. Couldn't even get...
And supply chain issues, right?
Well, the thing was with me, it was like I'm trying to design places. Like I designed both two condos and that I bought and I designed them literally by past things I've done. I couldn't even get into like Floor and Decor or any of my normal supply houses. They were all like had the the barricades up, and
Right.
so I'm designing by looking on the the computer. Well, that looks good. I think I'll do that. And then you get it there and you're like, oh man, that doesn't look good. So there was a lot of buy returns, and then sometimes they wouldn't take the returns because it might have COVID on it.
Yeah.
And
Or you just couldn't get what you needed, right?
Yeah.
So I hate dwelling on the COVID stuff because it's
oh, it's coming back, man. Come on now.
I know. And so
You will know.
I'm hoping we're not shut down and back to where we were. But so now you're in the post-COVID era, so to speak, even though COVID's still around. But from an economic standpoint, we're past all of those other challenges for the most part, but still have issues with the fact that you have inflation, construction costs just through the roof, labor also through the roof, which all adds to the cost of flipping a house or a construction job or whatever you're doing. What are the challenges that you're seeing today other than the overall one, which is how do I make this deal pencil, right? I mean, are you still having a labor issue to get people to work?
That's an interesting take because I would say a year ago, I had a real problem getting subs, and you want to get good subs. You want to get good, obviously good licensed subs because I think there's a lot of unscrupulous people that go out and they try to take advantage of people that are not using permits and being licensed. They'll get pretend injured on your job and try to sue you. So be cognizant of that. It's important. I mean, you could lose a lot. I tell homeowners all the time that don't be dumb. I mean, it's good work's not cheap and cheap work is not good. But finding good subs, it was hard to do. Now, in the past 3 months, I've had subs call me that haven't talked to me in a year, and now they're like, "Oh, hey, remember me?" And I'm like,
Right, humping for work, right?
Yeah, you're the guy that told me to go pound sand because I wasn't paying you enough or whatever. So and they're calling me
and
now
now you don't need half up front, and now you're available to start tomorrow, right? I mean, these are whereas a year ago it was. I mean, I literally had people say, "Look, I'm booked for 4 months or 6 months, right? You can just call me then. I'm not taking on any more work." I found that as well. We've been interviewing to bring on more construction folks for our in-house staff, and I've got more people that are handymen that are applying than ever before. And I think part of that is it's very hard to get new jobs. And now with inflation and people pulling back on their spending, a lot of people aren't remodeling the bathroom or the kitchen or the patio like they used to. And so all these guys are now back to trying to get new business.
Yeah. I've had a lot more success in the past few months with more just my. Before it is we'd call a drywall guy. We'd be lucky if we get the guy out, and we're like, oh god.
Right now you're like, I can actually get 3 bids.
Exactly, I can get 3 bids now. I'm doing a private job for a client in Huntington Beach, and she had a little sticker shock the other day because she had a lot. She has 16 pages of stuff she wants to do. And I gave her the bid. It was like $400 and something thousand, and she literally. I mean, I told her to prepare. I go, sit down. I mean, I don't know what you're thinking, but. I mean, it's a whole thing, but I've had all of my subs that have come out. I've had 2 or 3 and have been responsive. I had one yesterday for the pool. He's like, I'll be there in an hour. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice in a way to see that. It's I kind of looked at that like back when we had the first recession back in 08, 09. I figured that we had so many unscrupulous contractors out there just doing horrible work, as you well know, just messing things up, just ripping people off. I think a lot of those people slithered back under their rocks, and we got some solid people. I grew my company at that time. I grew like back in 08, we grew from 9, 10, 11, from 2 trucks to 17 trucks, and 1 guy per truck, 1 or 2 guys per truck. And I had my cream of my crop of guys to pick. I mean,
Right.
we were hiring contractors.
But not today. I mean, today
it's starting to come around. I'm starting to see a little bit there. People are calling me like, "Hey, you got work? I'm,
Right.
I'm willing to discount my rate." So yeah, it's good to see. It's kind of offsetting the cost I'm seeing. When we were paying $12 for a 2x4,
Right.
A year ago.
Well, and look, it's no different than the residential market where people expectations are that my house sells in 4 days and I have 12 offers. That is not normal, right? It's normal for a house to sell in 60 or 90 days and to have a couple of offers, right? And it's normal for somebody to have an asking price and take a little bit less, not $300,000 over the ask. No different than with the contractors, where you would normally get a bid and then you negotiate a little bit, as opposed to the guy going, look, that's the deal, take it or leave it, and I'm not available for 90 days.
Yeah.
And so I do think it's getting better. I think it's got some more to go. But I do think the tables have started to turn a bit.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to talk to you about how you got from basically doing real estate and construction into the TV world, in terms of reality TV. How, was there an epiphany that you said, hey, I want to be on TV? Did the phone ring and they said, hey, Steve, we're calling? How did that go in terms of your entree into that world?
Not many people know this, but I was actually in the TV world when I was a kid. I worked. I worked in the art department, the set department. My dad did a lot of set work for Paramount, so I was on set at Paramount at least twice a week, working on the good old. You remember the show Family Ties with Michael J. Fox? We were on the same stage. So we had Family Ties, Webster. It was another show, I forgot what it was, but and then we did with Cannell Productions, we did with the show called Riptide and Hardcastle McCormick, and so we were around that quite a bit. And I was around it, and we were friends with Alex Karras and his wife, because my sister was Richard Simmons' manager, so we were up in that life quite a bit, up around there. I was watching, how I got back into it was I was watching an episode of Flip or Flop. Season 1, and I saw the guy that they had, and I just thought, I wonder if he, like, I didn't see the work didn't look that good. So I was like, I did a message on Facebook, and within 15 minutes I got a text back, and they're like, hey, we know who you are and we've seen your work, but we'd like to meet you tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, cool. Where? And then we have a house in Westminster. So I went there and I met Tarek and I met Pete, his business partner. Good people. Tarek's just salt of the earth kind of guy, and Pete too. They're great people. They're definitely salt and pepper. They're so complete polar opposites. It's so funny. But we did a house. That was an interesting house doing in a community. I did that for him pretty quick. We did that like in 2 weeks. Had a lot of hiccups with that house because when you take over a house and you got to let people, people literally moving out when you're trying to get the work done. So we did that for him, and then they said, hey, we love your work. We'd like to have you on camera. And I'm like, when? He goes, tomorrow. You're gonna be. This is the last season. This is the last episode of season 2. And so I went up. First time I'd met Christina. She's such a sweetheart as well. She's such a good person, good human being, and met her. And her and I formed a really close friendship at the time. We used to lobby Tarek quite a bit because we, during the scouting, they'd go out and look at houses and stuff. And we would, I found a house that, if you look at an episode called Freeway Flip, that's a house that they weren't going to put on camera. And I brought Christina because I had this epiphany of this house. I'm like, dude, this house, we could do so many cool things with this house. And it became the haunted house. It truly was a haunted house. That's a whole story in itself. But it was fun to do, and I had a good time. So I started with season 2, and I went so season 2, 3, and 4, a little bit into 5, and then I left for a while because our business started flourishing. We grew to 27 trucks and like 50 something employees, and as you know, in filming, it takes a lot of your time. Yeah. So we kind of backed off from the filming. Izzy came back. Izzy and I were friends. We were doing it, and then we got Jeff involved. Jeff came on the show. Jeff's amazing too. Jeff, with his company Clean Sweep, CS Construction, great guy. Jeff and Izzy both are. We all had a great camaraderie. We all kind of worked together. There was no weird animosity. It was just us. We would all, hey, do you want this house? Or hey, we would all kind of work together. I came back in season 10, our final season before we wrapped. I did an episode with Tarek. I brought in our design team. That was a house we did in Newport. The ones over there at old, what's that one over there off Bristol? It used to be called Santa Ana Heights, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did a condo over there on the golf course. And it was called Cookie Cutter because every house looks the same.
Right.
They all like, if you look at them from the sky view, they all look like they're just, And so we did an episode with him on that on our design side. Jeff did the construction and we did the design. So that was fun. And then I got recruited to do a show for Magnolia. So that was fun to do. I working with those folks is a different game than I'm used to, but we had fun doing that episode in Hawthorne.
And so you're still doing it, and then you have future episodes that will air coming up end of the year, first part of next year.
Yeah, they pushed us to the new season 3 on Flipping 101. So that'll be good. And then I know Tarek and I are talks about me doing a couple more things with his new show, Flipping Almusas. So we'll see how that turns out, see if that works out. It goes with you never know what time, if you have time to do it. So, and that's about it on the TV side. Oh, I've got, the new show we're doing, we're in post-production or pre-production, on a show we're doing about housing homeless, transitioned homeless families. I got to be careful saying that word. Sorry. These are families that are already in temporary homes, temporary living, already have jobs, already kind of sorted out a lot of their issues. And we've got 3 homes in Orange that we're going back to historic, and we're building 3 ADUs in the back. And with those ADUs, 2 of those, I'm going to put it out there, 2 of those, because it's only supposed to be 1, but 2 of them are going to go to homeless veterans families. Because I think we treat our veterans like crap in this country, and I think we need to do a better job of it. So I'm really pushing for that.
That's exciting.
Thank you.
So I wish you well with all that stuff. And the shows that are coming up now, they're on HGTV or it's on multiple networks?
Well, you can. HGTV is the main channel to be on. And then the Magnolia obviously will be on Magnolia.
Yeah.
So Capturing Home Magnolia channel. So, yeah, but it's good. Just HD. I think you can get them on Hulu or something afterwards, but I'm not sure.
Good. It's exciting.
Yeah,
and
thanks.
so you got the TV aspect of it. Now we come back to the real estate. Let's sort of
Sure.
fast forward and try and look ahead in terms of what the market looks like and
Crystal
I guess,
ball.
Yeah, as
Bring
much
up
as
the
we
crystal
can,
ball.
right? So
Yeah.
so I'm a guy who wants to buy a place and I
Mhm.
want to fix it up and flip it in today's world. What advice do you have for somebody that's out there in the market looking today in terms of what to look for and what to be careful about?
Well, I've always said to people, make sure you do your homework. It's worth a home inspection. I mean, even if you're buying it wholesale, it's worth a home inspection because you never know. I mean, even to me as myself as a contractor, I'm not climbing on the roof per se. I'm not crawling under the house. I'd rather pay $300 to somebody to do that for me, to go and double check everything and put a list together. It's also good for negotiating too, because if you put it in an escrow and don't, be dumb and take out your contingencies, leave your contingencies in there and come back to them and say, well, look, I found some, major damage or whatever. I found some structural damage or whatever. That way you have a little bit of leg room. If you go into it real gung-ho and you're like, remove all contingencies as is, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot as far as I'm concerned. A lot of people feel they need to do that to get the deal. I've done that a lot. Sometimes it's bit me,
Okay.
I'm sure you know what I mean.
Oh, look, and in the past, 18, 24 months, that's all it was. I mean, if you had multiple offers on the property, you had to separate yourself from the other offers, whether they were real or whether they were concocted or whether they had hair on them. You needed to float to the top of the list so that they would focus on your offer in a bidding war. And so the only way to do that is either you pay more, or if you don't want to pay more, you remove contingencies, you put up a bigger deposit, you buy it as is, and you do things that you wouldn't normally do in a logical market, right? And you're taking more risk for sure.
Yeah, I've actually bought some in northern Nevada that were sight unseen. I mean, just looking on the computer, I'm like, look, it's cheap. I'll buy it, And I got lucky. On those. But I've bought a couple through auction. You know how it goes. We bought them at auction, and you get them, and you're like, oh God, you're dealing with the
right,
evictions,
structural, or you're dealing with the
tenants,
roof, and then the tenants, right?
Cash for keys, and you try to be as nice and sweet as possible so they don't dump 5-pound bag of concrete down your toilet.
Right.
So. I don't know if you've had those, but that's we saw a lot of that back in the day. So.
Yeah, I haven't had the 5-pound bag of concrete, but I've had other issues. I mean, there's no question that a tenant scorned is right up there with a woman scorned. You don't want it. I mean,
I don't want to scorn anybody.
No.
I try to be as kind as possible to people, and just if I can, if there's money in the game, we can. If we have to get them out without going the legal route, we'll just be like, look, we'll help you move.
Right.
We'll put you in a storage unit. I've even, believe it or not, co-signed for an apartment for 6 months. I just, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Well, we've had people show up and I've paid my guys to move them physically. They're like, I don't have help. I'm like, here, I'll give you help.
I've done that.
Please get out, right?
Yeah.
And so, you do what you have to do, but then once you get in there, then the issue is, fixing a toilet or, doing some cabinet work. Those are things that you would have done anyway as part of the remodel. The issue is when you get into structural or you get into slab issues or you get into major termite problems or the roof. Or AC, then now you get into bigger ticket items that maybe you didn't have on your books for your budget, and now you're pushing the envelope on what you wanted to spend.
Yeah, I bought one not too long, a couple years ago. I bought one in a local city here in Orange County. It was a newer construction. It was only 5 years old, and I paid top dollar for it. But the guy left, who lost the house. He was pretty angry. He took the heater, took the water heater, took just random cabinet doors. I mean, stole things that were like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, like, as far as he didn't try to take the gas meter. I mean, but those are kind of expenses we don't really anticipate. But, you always got to have room in there with contingencies for stuff like that.
Now, when you go in to make a deal, so you buy going in and you have a certain amount of money that you expect that you're going to spend, and then are you penciling a certain exit strategy from the get-go of, if I do this to this house or this property, then when I go to sell it, this is what it should sell for? And have you thought it all the way through to the end? Or is it, look, I think I'm creating value here. I'm not sure what the market will be when I finish, because it could be 3 months, it could be a year and 3 months, and then I just know that there's money in this to be made. What's the thought process?
I always try to add square footage. Before I buy a house, I always look at the house a couple different times. I do pencil it out, and I look at my neighborhood and look at my demographics in the neighborhood. Who's buying in this neighborhood? Are we moving into an area that's predominantly more Asian people, moving in, or is it Hispanic? I mean, and I mean that from a good standpoint. And I do my design based on kind of who's moving in. And I'm weird. I won't, like, if I buy a house in Garden Grove or Westminster, I won't buy one at the end of a cul-de-sac, because I'll never sell the house to a traditional person who's believes the
feng shui, right?
Feng shui is completely off. I have, and I wonder why I wasn't selling it, like you were talking about, in 90 days. I'm like, geez, what's up? So I finally ended up putting a divider and did change the kind of the approach. The front door wasn't straight on, and I sold the house like in a week. Yeah. So I always try to think it out, and adding square footage. ADUs are big for me right now. I think they're, for something that the state really is encouraging you to do, it's obviously the most expensive. The one I just did in Torrance, the one I just did for Flipping 101, the city alone charged me over $7,000 just for that permit.
Because they figure that you're creating a new dwelling, and so there ought to be enough value that we'll just get our piece too. Is that the logic behind it? And for those who don't know out there, the ADU is basically, the state has said that you could basically build, I'm gonna simplify it and just say, a second home on your lot.
2 of them.
Yeah, and so you can basically add what you would call a mother-in-law unit or an additional unit, or whoever's going to live there, doesn't matter. But if you have the land, you can just build in your backyard. You can just go build another place.
Yeah, exactly. I think adding square footage is, especially when I'm doing a lot of my construction, I do a lot myself. So when I do a lot myself, I'm saving money. And if let's say the value of, even if construction costs, even it cost me $250 a square foot, even myself to build, with costs now to build, if I was to hire that out, it'd be $300, $400 a foot.
But the house is selling for $500, $600 a foot,
six, seven,
or more.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's where the money is.
That's where the money is, adding square footage.
Yeah.
And adding that convenience, because everybody's looking for the option now. Most people are. Well, depending where you are. I necessarily wouldn't put an ADU like here in Newport. I wouldn't, it's not, it's a different climate down here. So I don't think I would do that. I would do better, Costa Mesa, Santa Ana, and, someplace where you have the factor more family-oriented people would want to move in, mom and dad,
or
more
more
kids with
right?
their family. Yeah, exactly. So I try to look at it.
Take a 3-bedroom house, you may get a 5-bedroom house. Big difference.
I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah. And so what do you think the future holds? I'm going to go short term because nobody knows long term, but over the next 6 to 9 months, do you expect that the interest rates where they are going to hold, And then does that do anything to the real estate markets in terms of a softening of pricing, or is it still that there's still limited supply and still a lot of people out there looking for places, so therefore the values are going to stay sort of firm where they're at?
I think the interest rates are going to go up a little more. I truly do. I think that I don't know what the Fed's doing. I don't know what their strategy is, but I think it's definitely going to go up a little bit more. I think it's definitely going to affect people's buying ability to buy, to buy. So I think, it'll trickle down to some degree. I don't think we're, like you said, we're not even today. I mean, I thought that about Torrance. I just sold Torrance and I won a nice dinner and a nice bet from Tark on this one, because he's like, you're only going to get 135, and I'm like, dude, I'm going to get 145 over. And he's like, I'll bet you. So we bet, and I did. I sold the house in an hour and I got over asking. But I just think it's all in. I think it's all in your design and all in how you plan out the house. I think, to finding right now, gosh, that's a tough question, because I think it really depends on area and affordability. I mean,
and so do you think that is the typical buyer of the house that you build, is it somebody who's going to live there, or is it, and it's somebody who just looks at it and goes, look, this is perfect, it's done, I don't have to do anything, and I could never do this myself, so therefore I'm going to pay a higher price than trying to fix it up on my own because I don't know what I'm doing?
Yeah, I think that's the case. Everybody who buys from me, we've been known to break records in neighborhoods because we really think it out, and we do spend a lot of money in our builds. But that was the premise of the show, by the way, is overspender. And I propensity to overspend at times on these flips, but I always get my return out of it, because I try to think of it from a point of doing quality work and doing it from a perspective of I always think to myself, would I live here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if I live here, what would I like? And I do it. I have integrity when I do my work, and I think it's super important to do that, because I think you don't have the lawsuits. You're not. I can't tell how many times people have bought flip houses. Yeah, I just did one for a cop in Huntington Beach, and he's just like, everything was so done half, what. And it was just unfortunate. But I think that to kind of circle back to your question, I'm not trying to evade your question there, but I think we're going to see a little bit of softening a little bit. I think because there's people can't afford it. I mean, you can't afford it. I think that'll last until we see the interest rates go down. And then I think it's going to go bonkers crazy after the interest rates go back down.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be interesting to see as we get past this summer selling season, it's going to slow down just because, at least on the residential side, as you get into the holidays. But I also think you're right, that there becomes a point where somebody just says, I can't afford it, so I guess I just won't buy at that price. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think, look, there's always opportunities in the market, and obviously you're on the cusp of that in terms of looking for opportunities, creating value, and then selling a finished product to somebody that hopefully appreciates it.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at doing some tiny home communities. I'm looking at different areas. I'm looking at land right now to purchase it, that has somewhere close to utilities. So I'm not going to spend $100,000 just to get utilities there. But I'm working on that. I've got some ideas from that. So I'd like to talk to you more about that too, because I think that's something that that really is needed right now in the market, where people can afford a smaller home, a tiny home, and it's something that I think is missing in this market.
Yeah, interesting. So I told you it would go quick. It goes. We could talk all day, but real quick, how can people find you if they want to find out more information about the company or about you?
Smoke signals. They're usually my best way.
Yeah.
TB, smoke signals, just let me know, and we'll do them by Braille or whatever you want. No, I'm really easy to get a hold of. I'm on Instagram at Steve Cederquist, or SteveCederquistDesigns.com. I'm all over I'm on Facebook, Steve Cederquist. If anybody has any questions about any kind of flipping or opportunities, or has a home they are thinking about flipping or wanting to sell, give me a call or text me or whatever. I'll help you through it. Even if you're going to flip it yourself, let me know. I'd love giving advice to people. I think it's what we're supposed to do is be helpers, and I love giving people a shot and telling them, hey, this is what I would do. Good luck to you. Not necessarily looking for the work. I'm plenty fine with the work, but
Well, good.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on the show and
Thank you.
sharing your thoughts and talking about the company. And I wish you and the company and your family all the best.
Thank you very
continued
much.
success. And we'll look for you on TV in the upcoming shows.
I appreciate that.
For those of you out there, I'm Barry Saywitz, president of the Saywitz Company. Thanks again for tuning in. I want to give a shout out to all the folks here at OC Talk Radio, Paul, Sophia, the whole rest of the staff. We're making the show happen every week, and we will see you back here next week on Let's Talk Real Estate. Thanks for tuning in.
Well, there you have it. You've been listening to Let's Talk Real Estate, your weekly BS with Barry Saywitz about the current state of the real commercial real estate market right here in Southern California. On Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio, streaming live from our studio here at the University of California Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.